Good morning, Rayfield. It is a wonderful Wednesday, wacky Wednesday, whimsical Wednesday. Whatever it is Wednesday and we are ready to get our day started. I would like to share with you the fact that we went through the mental health, mental dynamite daily creed on yesterday. We learned about the fact of repeating and reciting our daily creed increases our opportunity to be successful. We talked about willpower, the emotions, reasoning, the imagination, our conscious, our memory, and of course, our subconscious mind. Now today, we're going to move forward with repeating our daily creed and then, of course, moving forward with our lesson of the subconscious mind. Discipline is gained little by little through the formation of habits that we can control. Habits begin in the mind. Therefore, a daily repetition of the creed will form a habit and a connection with the habits needed to develop and control the 6 departments of the mind. Merely repeating the names of these departments is an important effect. It makes one conscious that these departments exist, that they are important, and that they can be controlled by the formation of habits, and that the nature of one's habits determines one's success or failure in the matter of self-discipline. When we recognize that our subconscious or our success and failure throughout our entire lives is largely a matter of control over our emotions. It is a fortunate day indeed. I'm going to repeat that sentence again. When we recognize that our success and failure throughout our entire life is largely a matter of control over our emotions, it is a fortunate day indeed. Yet, before we can recognize this truth, we must recognize that the existence and the nature of our emotions is an action that many people never indulge in during their entire lifetime. Yet, before we can recognize this truth, we must recognize that the existence and the nature of our emotions is an action that many people never indulge in during their entire life. And I have a quote here from Mother Teresa. Peace begins with a smile. Anyone who recognizes the benefits of daily creed will see almost from the day they begin repeating the creed that they have emotions, that some need for encouraging the emotion by use with others and the need to control by diverting their power to constructive ends. There's a great need to control our emotions. All of those who repeat the creed daily will find certainly forming this habit will harmonize with the commitments that it contains, both consciously and unconsciously. Military strategies note an enemy recognizes a person who has been defeated. This also applies to the enemies that operate within our own mind and those who exist on the outside of our mind. It especially applies to the enemy of negative emotion. Once there is an enemy that has recognized, we begin almost automatically to set up habits to counteract them. Those habits divert their power into constructive effort. The same reasoning applies to the benefits of the mind. Benefit recognized is benefit utilized. The 7 positive emotions are beneficial, but only if they are organized and controlled through strict self-discipline. If they are not controlled, they may be just as dangerous as the 7 negative emotions. Let's look at the emotions again. The 7 positive emotions are love, sex, hope, faith, enthusiasm, loyalty, and desire. The 7 negative emotions are fear, jealousy, hatred, revenge, greed, anger, superstition. For example, faith becomes helpful only when it is expressed through organized action toward constructive ends. Faith without action is useless. It devolves into daydreaming and wishing. When definiteness of purpose is persistently followed, self-discipline stimulates faith. A person should embark on a life of discipline by establishing habits that stimulate the use of willpower because it is the human ego, the seat of willpower, and all desires originate there. It's where the desire of faith pair, and if you stimulate one, guess what? You stimulate the other. Wherever strong desire is found, faith can be found, and precisely the same intensity in the person's desire. Control and direct it through thought, organized habits, and control directly and automatically through your habits. And it is control. Self-discipline is the highest form of control. Great leaders in all walks of life have their desire and their faith to persistently and perfectly organize and control that they call them into action anytime, anywhere. They will, its attainment quickly, find themselves in possession of their faith and the necessity to act upon it. Irrespective of the object in question, whether it is health, medical discovery, material possession, technological innovation, or any other definite end, they call upon their faith and their self-discipline to get them through whatever the problem is. And so now they list a poem by Agnes Martin. The name of the poem is Finding Today. I closed the door on yesterday, its sorrows and mistakes. I locked within the gloomy walls, the past failures and heartaches. And now I throw away the key to seek another room and to furnish it with hope and smiles, and every springtime bloom. No thought shall enter this abode that has a hint of pain, and every malice and distrust shall never therein reign. That poem is by Agnes Martin, and the name of the poem is Finding Today. I've locked the door on yesterday. I've thrown away the key. Tomorrow has no fears for me, since I have found today. Alice Marble is an example of someone who applied the self-discipline and other principles of this philosophy and ended up becoming a world champion tennis player. Her remarkable story began in San Francisco when, at the age of 17, Maribel took her first step toward self-discipline that was destined to bring her world fame by adopting her definite major purpose, the determination to become a world champion tennis player. Self-discipline was not handed to her on a silver platter. Before she attained it, she was forced to test her mettle in ways which would have defeated the average person over and over again. At the outset of her career, Maribel attracted the attention of Eleanor Tennant, the famous tennis coach who came out of Golden Gate Park to watch her play. It was a great day for the world champion. When the game was over, she ran anxiously over to Tennant, hoping to receive her approval and her hearty applause. But the famous tennis coach gazed at her for a few minutes in utter silence before ever deciding to throw a hurdle in her way would reveal definitely whether the young girl aspired had to take it to her next level to achieve her goal. She looked at her and she said, "So you wish to become a world champion? That's a mighty big order, but a most admirable ambition. Do you realize the hard work ahead of you? Are you prepared for the heartaches and the disappointments of your ambition? Are you willing to sacrifice every joy that every girl generally holds so high at your age in order to give yourself this self-discipline to be a world champion? It's very demanding." Alex exclaimed, "Yes, I'm willing. I'm willing to give up everything. And I want to do it willingly." The tennis coach noticed the quality of the young girl's resolute words and her sparkling eyes as she stated that she wanted to be a world champion. So the coach looked at her and she admonished, "Remember, Alice, that you can make the grade if you take care enough. Ambitions can be made realities if diligently pursued with work, patience, and determination. But self-discipline must be your watchword." During the 4 months that followed, Maribel learned the true meaning of self-discipline. At times, she complained that her coach treated her like a piece of machinery rather than a human being. But she fed off of the confidence that her coach gave her. When Alice thought that she had played a good game, her coach only shook her head and said, "No, not good enough." Finally, the day arrived when her coach and the psychologist said that she decided to put her student strictly on her own. "A coach and a student," the coach said. "Alice forgot that you have never had a lesson. Alice, forget that you have ever had a lesson. You are naturally an athlete and a tennis player. Play naturally and you will become great. Your only stumbling block will be your mental and physical laziness. A tennis champion is one who wins when she is playing her best. Winning is easy when things are going smooth. When the going gets tough, you must get tough with it. You must get the fight within you to win." Then came Alice's big opportunity. She was selected in a squad to send to Europe to play tennis. Before her departure, the team wined and dined, first at the young star's house and then on a boat with others. Here is where the young star self-discipline had its first real test. The test was that so many stars would not survive, but since one's success often plays havoc with one's self-discipline, at long last she was recognized, and her reaction to that recognition would reveal whether she was a champion or not. Maribel played her first match on center court at Roland Garros against Madame Harrington. The American knew this tournament would define her career, so she prepared diligently to have herself ready in an optimal state, both physically and mentally, before putting everything she had into that match. During the match, her exertion became too much and Maribel collapsed. When she awoke, Maribel found herself a patient at the American hospital in Paris. This appeared to be a glimpse of her price of her distinguished coach, who had told her that she would pay for her championship. Mental agony and physical pain combined with what seemed a conspiracy to test her mettle. Shortly after, the doctor informed her that she had pleurisy, she would never play tennis again. What a good excuse to quit. Many would have grabbed it freely, but Maribel, her desires outweighed her opinion of what they thought of her. No matter how qualified that doctor was that diagnosed her, she felt that he was wrong and she would play again. Despite being crippled, Maribel found her dream was stronger than ever, and her decision, born self-discipline, was stronger than ever. Maribel had been preparing in her mind for such an emergency for months, and she was ready to meet that emergency without quitting. She never knew what her challenge or her emergency would be, but she was going to conquer it. Confined to a wheelchair, Maribel returned to the United States. A familiar face met her at the dock in New York, and soon Maribel and her old tennis coach were on their way to California. Her cheerfulness en route to California, said Maribel of her mentor, made me realize that she was sharing my misery. However, she was expecting me to regain my health. Leading the doctors in Paris and New York, New Angeles, San Francisco, and all came to tell the same story, that she would be semi-invalid and would never play again, and solemnly warned her that she better not try. 6 months after receiving this hopeless diagnosis, Maribel went into counseling, and she decided, I'm not going to give up. She began earnestly to do something for herself that the doctors said she should not do, something that no medicine would be able to accomplish. She made a decision within herself. She came to terms with the situation. And though her opinions outweighed the opinions of the doctors, she began to prepare herself for recovery. The decision pleased her coach, and it was this decision for which she had been waiting. But she knew well that it was a decision that had come from Alice herself. Self-discipline to rescue the hopeless was supplanted in my mind, and I decided I will win. I will win. I will be a miracle. Maribel instructed her coach to pack her clothes and get her ready to leave the hospital at once. 9:00 a.m., but it made no difference. She was leaving immediately. The doctors could learn about her decision in due time, but the decision was final and no one could change it. Let's pause our story quickly to reflect upon the self-discipline lesson here. Alice Maribel had come to a turning point in her career. She could accept defeat that was predicted by the medical experts, or she could activate her willpower and demand it to restore her health. Everything depended on this battle in her mind. Maribel had pledged to herself to make it no matter what the sacrifice was. She would become the world champion. That was her motive for putting up this fight. Leaving the hospital that evening, Maribel said, from now on, I will whip this health problem by myself. Poor health is a rich person's luxury, and I can afford it. For I have a job to do, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to fight. I figure that 2 of me is strong and 1 of me is weak. From now on, I will use the strong me, because I have to lead the weak me out of this hospital. As she walked through the waiting room to her vehicle, her knees shook, but in her mind, she was firm. The decision was made. Her own mind was ready to walk out without challenge. Maribel knew right then that Mr. Carnegie And all of the great achievers of the world, self-discipline gives one the courage to make the fight, changing decisions, and providing the willpower to carry them out. Her body may not be the same, but her mind was more determined than ever. Arriving home, Maribel diligently laid out a plan to become the world champion, one that required her to start in the humblest of beginnings. Her plan called for a walk each day, beginning with a block or two and increasing daily until she was able to walk 3 miles. After that, she would start jumping rope to strengthen her legs. To keep herself in the right mental attitude, she would sing each day. Step by step, Maribel would send over her subconscious mind a clear picture of herself as an athlete with a clear destiny. Importantly, she would never allow her mind to leave those thoughts. With every bound, she received her major purpose. With every skip, she reinforced that purpose. And as the days passed, her body grew stronger and stronger and stronger, slowly but surely. Then, Maribel made some revisions. Having gained temporary victory over her body, she began working on a systematic plan for entering or extending control over her mental faculties also. Her coach gave her permission to take her management out of their home, and that meant she would supervise her at work, order and plan meals, make appointments, type letters, pay bills, and more. Being so busy would constructively help her to work and leave no time for brooding or giving up. The opportunity to close the door tightly between herself and her past disappointments. A few months later, Maribel arranged an appointment with a doctor who delightfully met with her and was astounded by her progress. Clearly, here she was going to play tennis again. Later that year, after only 4 months of preparation. Later that year, only a few months later, Maribel arranged an appointment, and as I stated, the doctor was elated. Afterwards, only 4 months of preparation, Alice Maribel won the national championship in 1939. She ranked number 1 in the world. Reflecting on the roller coaster journey, she said, "If you care and if you have objective in life and you are willing to go to work, there are no obstacles that cannot be obtained." There is the element to be developed, definitiveness of purpose backed by motive. Without this, no one may hope to gain self-discipline. With it, self-discipline can easily be attained. We must also credit another important principle that helps along with this extraordinary journey: the power of mastermind. It is Maribel's long-term bond with her coach that gave her the courage that she needed to take possession of her mind. Battles like this one, battles like duos faced in tennis, are even more difficult when faced alone. After her recovery, Maribel said, "My illness was a blessing in disguise because I am now better equipped to meet life and its daily obstacles, better equipped to perhaps have challenges that I thought that I could not obtain, but I did. I had to battle with my health and experience in the reckoning of my objectives. Yes, it is helpful for us to be tested from time to time. It seems that nature has it planned that no one is ever allowed to triumph in connection with their major purpose in life without undergoing some form of severe test to their resolve. Most people who achieve outstanding success are compelled to undergo many tests, but each test brings out stronger and more courageous if one accepts the test with the right mental attitude. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved. And that was by Helen Keller. Boy, this story of Maribel is phenomenal. She had to overcome her physical health and her mental health challenges in order to become the world champion tennis player. And we today have challenges that we must overcome in our mind and our physical body in order for us to obtain the goals that we have set for ourselves. Well, Rayfield, we're going to continue our lesson. Today, I am your emotions. And as you can see, I'm all dressed in red. And we're going to talk more about how the emotional part of us, how the third department of the mind, the emotion, helps us to control our destiny and helps us with our daily creed and our self-discipline. So let's remember our daily creed before we close for today. The daily creed, willpower, recognizing that willpower is the supreme court of the departments of the mind. I will exercise my willpower in my need for action and purpose, and I will form habits designed to bring willpower into action at least once daily. Emotions, realizing that my emotions are both positive and negative. I will form daily habits and encourage the development of positive emotions that will aid me in converting my negative emotions into some form of useful effort. All right, guys, that is my lesson for today. Tomorrow, we will move on to reason, imagination, conscious memory, and subconscious mind. The 6 departments of the mind. We are moving forward with mental dynamite here at Rayfield. We are achieving our goals every day. We are working hard, studying hard, and moving forward. Let's have a great day, Rayfield. We are Rayfield strong.